Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gloria and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today I wanted to go through some of my plants that I'm currently growing in pon, kind of the pros and cons, which plants I have in pon, and kind of my thoughts on it. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And yeah, let's just jump right into today's video. Okay, so I have a total of 7 plants that are currently in pon right now. Just a little bit about pon, it's just kind of like rocks. It's a form of like soilless medium, so similar to leca in that I do tend to put a little bit of a water reservoir at the bottom. So I do put a little bit of a water reservoir at the bottom so that the rocks can just wick up the water and give water to the roots and essentially water the plant. So it's pretty much the same in that sense, but it's not like so they are rocks. It's not like a clay medium. This is Lechuza Pon. So you can make your own pon, which is just buying a bunch of different rocks, and they have a whole bunch of benefits in that it can provide air to the roots, and they're also filled with nutrients, so you don't have to use a liquid fertilizer or nutrient solution like how I do with my leca. So the brand that I use with leca is the advanced nutrients. So it's this. There's 3 of them: micro, grow, and bloom. So I mix them in a jug of distilled water that I use for my leca plants. But for my pon plants, I don't really have to do that, which is really great. Another good thing about pon is that it's heavy, so it weighs down the root ball. If the plant is really top heavy and you find that it's really hard to keep your plant in leca, maybe just switch it to pon, because that way it can actually hold it down and not topple over. All my plants here are really small that's in pon. I got a bag of pon from my friend, which if you know who you are, thank you so much. But yeah, let's just move on with which plants I have in pon right now. So I have this little guy, which is my HOYA Philippines. So it is a cute little HOYA cutting that I got from my friend. It originally rooted in moss, and then I transferred it over to pon. So now it's just in pon, and I just have a little bit of a water reservoir at the bottom so that it can just wick up some of the water so that the pond doesn't dry out too quickly. I find that with leca, same thing. It's so much easier to just have a water reservoir so you're not constantly watering it. My cat is like attacking my plants. Get your shit together, okay? Anyway, so yeah, these aren't in clear pots for the most part, so you can't really see the roots. I find the transition from moss to leca versus pon is like so much harder in leca than it is in pon. So I find all my transitions pretty much for the most part was successful compared to leca. Just a lot easier. It's a lot more forgiving, a lot more beginner friendly, and just great. So yeah, this one went from moss to pon, and it's thriving. So can't wait for some new leaves to come out. So this one is my HOYA CALLISTOPHYLLA shortleaf. So this one, as you know, had quite the struggle in leca and in moss, and it's just been honestly doing great in pon. It grew a new leaf. One of the older leaves did die off, so that's that, but it tends to happen with like older leaves, which I'm not mad about. But this HOYA CALLISTOPHYLLA is doing great now in pon. It adjusted really well to the new medium, and I'm pretty sure it's well rooted now. Can't see because once again they're not in clear pots. So HOYAs really like to be kind of in smaller pot sizes when they're in pon versus in leca. In leca, it doesn't really matter what the pot size is, but these, they like to be more root bound in pon, and they just grow better that way. So I tried to find really tiny pots. They're all in, like, for the most part, 2 to 2.5 inch pots. So that is the reason. Okay, unfortunately, cat has to be held because keeps trying to eat my HOYAs. So this is the next plant that I have here. This is my HOYA HEUSCHKELIANA VARIEGATA. So this one honestly is dripping water everywhere, so it's not doing great. But yeah, as you can see, there's some new leaves there, and it's just so amazing. It's like growing so well in pon. I initially rooted it in what was it, water or leca? I can't really remember. I'm pretty sure it was water, and yeah, I transferred it to Pon and it's just so much happier. I didn't even have to like keep an eye on it when it was transitioning because I was just so like certain that it would be successful. I don't know if you guys get that with transferring your plants into Pon, but when I transfer them in LECA, I usually keep a pretty close eye on them for the first like couple days at least, or even first week, just to see if there's any sign of declining. But for Pon, just been really easy. Next up is another plant that literally came back from the dead, which is my HOYA Manipurensis. So this is the Manipurensis. It has a triangular leaves. It's super cute and also currently growing in Pon. As you can see, the plant is a lot smaller than it was like last year because I had so much trouble with this in LECA and I had to reroot it, and now it's actually putting out so many new leaves, and the old like yellow dying leaves have already been like shed, except for like these two. I mean, like that one's a little bit, but it's not bad. It's not bad. So yeah, it's doing so much better now, and I think it's really enjoying the Pon life. So the only bad thing with Pon is the accessibility and the price. So it's pretty expensive to get Pon, at least in Canada. I find like a big bag, although it can last quite some time, it's kind of expensive. So I mean, I got gifted this from my friend, so I'm not really complaining, but I don't know if it will ever come back in stock. It's always out of stock. But yeah, moving on. This one is my Hoya Bella Reverse Variegata, also called another name, which I'll include in the screen right now. And this Hoya is just doing really great now that it's in Pon. It had a really bad mealybug infestation when it was growing in LECA. So I chopped it all down, and this is what's left of it. So these were the cuttings, and they rooted well in the Pon and they're doing great now. There's no mealybugs that I can see, and it's put out a couple of new leaves, so I'm happy it's finally stabilized and I don't have to like be so concerned about it anymore. Next up is another Hoya. So this one is my Hoya Sarawak. So this is the Sarawak cream, I'm assuming, and it has the beautiful 2 leaves that it came with. They're so perfect, they're so nice, they're so pretty, and also currently in Pon. So when I initially transferred it in Pon, it like did not do too great because honestly I was just too rough with the roots. When I was removing the moss, it was so root bound, it was so entangled in the moss that when I literally meticulously tried to remove the moss, it just damaged the roots, put it into shock, and then once it went Pon, it just all rotted, all the remaining roots. So now it's doing great. I do see a few roots peeking out, but I don't really want to disturb it because it's been through a lot, and it's finally back in Pon and it's doing great. And how I usually tell if a plant is doing okay is by kind of feeling the hardness, the sturdiness of the leaves. So these leaves are really sturdy and doing amazing. So yeah, I know this Sarawak has rooted really well in the Pon and just doing great now, so no worries there. The last plant I want to show you is a non-Hoya. So this one is actually a philodendron. So I don't usually keep my philodendrons in Pon just because I don't have a lot of Pon, and I try to save it for my Hoyas because they enjoy it more. The roots are more fine. It's easier for them to grab onto the Pon versus aeroids. I think they just do okay in LECA. So this is my philodendron VERRUCOSUM. So as you can see, it's a very tiny plant, very awkward looking. You guys probably saw it in my plant tour video. So there's that baby leaf, and this slightly bigger baby leaf. So I think this is the prettiest leaf. It is also the oldest leaf, and since then it's been not doing as hot. So these 2 little leaves are so tiny. So I don't know, should I continue keeping this in Pon, or should I switch it back to LECA or put it into some chunky aeroid soil mix? I don't know, but you can see some really pink roots along the side. So this is the only plant that I actually have in a clear orchid pot type situation. The rest are just in super tiny little 2.5 inch like succulent pots. So I don't really have a way to show you guys the roots unless I am repotting, which these do not need to be repotted. So yeah, that pretty much concludes today's video. It was quite long. I did talk a lot, kind of all over the place, but I hope you guys enjoyed and found it helpful one way or another. If you're able to get Pon in your area where you're growing your plants, I hope it is at an affordable price. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.